Morning. I was going to say good morning Vietnam, but I thought I'd better not. Anyway, good morning people and welcome. And it's Tuesday, and well, mm, outside at the moment here where I live, it's very dull and miserable and everything. If I was you, people, I would kind of like stay in, get a blanket, put the fire on, get your Netflix on and watch a bit of Netflix and keep yourself warm. That's what I would say. Anyway, guys. Good morning. Anyway, we have got Naomi back. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
Now,
Time's flown.
yeah, it's flew by, didn't it? Flew.
Has.
Yeah, it's like British Airways. Anyway, there's, there's some people who's not kind of like seen you or heard you before. Can you tell everybody what you do?
Yes, I work with mainly with new mums that have postnatal depression, and I am a coach that helps them to recover from postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
So do you coach people who are like postnatal depression and kind of do you, because sometimes when it's like I remember when my wife had our children and everything
Mm.
for a long time after she was really depressed and low,
Mm.
and so what do you do? Go through. See, if I came up to you now and go, um, if I went up to you and went, um, I don't know. This is a scenario, say.
Mm.
Hello, Naomi. My name is Roberta, say, right?
Yeah.
Just had some children and everything. And I just had some children, but the trouble is I feel so depressed. What, how do you help people?
Okay, so well, a big part of what I do is about education, because there's a couple of things. One is there's this common belief that when you have postnatal depression or postnatal anxiety, it's hormonal and it will go away on its own. Now, this is damaging for starters. This is a sort of thing that doctors tell people, and it's not always hormonal, and it's not something that I would suggest that you just waited for it to go away. I think that you need to do something about it in order to feel better. And so it's about, part of what I do is about educating people around that, because I think um, the other thing is that we're sort of led to believe that if you go, or if you take antidepressants, it'll just go away. Now, I'm not saying to anyone don't take antidepressants, because they were useful for me. They got me to a place where I could function. And if you are in that situation, they are really helpful for getting you into a place where you can function. But they don't get rid of the underlying issues that are creating the depression and anxiety. And this is what I work with my clients. So if you go to the doctors, they'll put you on antidepressants. I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's what they want you to do, is go on antidepressants. And then they will offer you some CBT. And usually there's a massive waiting list for CBT. And this is the thing is, this is just this out of box solution for everyone. And not everyone, that approach isn't going to work for everyone, because these CBT tools are fantastic, but they are just a sticking plaster, and so are antidepressants. So what
Yeah,
I do,
yeah, but everybody else is different too, isn't they?
everyone's different. Everyone's different. And this is the whole point of why I do what I do, is we need to look at people who have anyone actually, that has poor mental health, depression or anxiety or any, or OCD, any of that stuff, we need to look at them holistically. Everyone is different. Everyone is different, and so that's what I offer with in my coaching is I will look at you as the individual, and I will decide what treatment plan is perfect for you, because it's going to be completely different for you as it is for the next person, and as it is for the next person.
Yeah.
And it's not just two things. It's not just CBT and medication that are going to help you recover. I mean, that they can be part of the mix, but just only ever saying it's those two things that we can offer you is cutting a lot of people short. Because for some people it will work, but for a hell of a lot of people it won't. And then what happens is, I'm on my soapbox now. What happens is you go for this treatment and you're not recovered, and then you think that there's something inherently wrong with you. You decide there's something wrong with you, and you decide that you have to live this life where you just feel flat all the time, or you just feel anxious all the time because it's part of your identity, and you've been to the doctors and that didn't help, so that's it, you're stuck as you are. This is what we're creating at the moment. So what I do is I'm trying to educate people that you need to look at this holistically, and there's more things that you need to do. And also I work with mums to help them discover what the things are that they need to do to recover. And it's about behavior changes, habit changes, changes to your thought processes. I mean, all sorts of, getting deep down to the root cause of it and addressing that.
It's
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Um, is postnatal a mental health problem?
Postnatal depression and anxiety?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it is, because there's so much misunderstanding around this, because I read a post about this the other day, and someone said, how long do you have postnatal depression for? And then someone responded to it saying, my doctor told me it's for a year. And this is so misunderstood, because there's so much assumption that the reason you have postnatal depression and anxiety is because of your hormones. It's not. It's not always. Sometimes it's because of your hormones, but often it's because you've got underlying issues that you haven't addressed. And because it's such a vulnerable time in your life that those issues come to the surface and you need to deal with them. So in this last year, last 2 years, while we've had the pandemic, UCL did some research, and they found that half of new mums have the symptoms of postnatal depression now. It used to be 1 in 5, now it's 1 in 2. And I would say it's probably more than that. And you're not telling me that number's gone up from 1 in 5 to 1 in 2 because of hormones.
no,
It's because of the stuff you've had to deal with during your pregnancy that's made you feel like that.
yeah.
I mean,
See, I wouldn't like to be a woman, because what you women got to go through, right? And us men, kind of like, we moan and moan and moan and moan and moan. We do, don't we?
do you know what? I specialise in working with mums just because I've got a really good understanding of it. But dads get postnatal depression too. So it's not always about hormones, is it? Because dads aren't going to have the hormones. That's a woman that has the hormones, but men get postnatal depression too, because of the underlying issues that they haven't addressed, that they're forced to address when they have a child, when they're feeling so overwhelmed that they don't know what to do with themselves.
Well,
So
I
men
tell
get
you what, I am amazed what a woman can do. I'm telling you, because no, honestly, I've got children, and And the trouble is, depression for a woman is really, really tough,
Yeah.
especially when they also got to run the household. When they're doing everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like oh, I'm sorry, this has gone fuzzy. Um, it's almost like you haven't got time to recover because you've got you've got a new baby to look after. So it's like you know completely massively overwhelming.
I know it's really, really bad, isn't it? Really, really bad. When you kind of like, so let's go back a little bit and tell people about what why you took this up for. It's because you were going through problems yourself, weren't you?
Yes, there we go. um Yes, my son's 7 now, but when he was born, I I had postnatal depression and anxiety, um, horrible intrusive thoughts, and it was it kind of all started really from having quite a traumatic experience during labour as well. Um, so I um, I've been on my own journey since he was born, and I went down the antidepressant route, and that made I just wanted to feel better as quickly as possible. So when the doctor said, "Here's some tablets, they should work within 2 weeks," I was like, "Yeah, give them to me." I would have done. I wanted to feel better. I didn't want to feel like I felt, and then they worked. I got to a place where I didn't, I wasn't constantly feeling like I was going to have a panic attack, and I wasn't, and they helped with the intrusive thoughts and stuff. But then as soon as I came off them, the symptoms came back. Um, and I didn't want to be on tablets for the rest of my life. And, some people are on them for years, decades. So then I had loads of counselling, and that was okay. That put some stuff to bed that I'd been carrying around with me since my childhood. But I still had all the symptoms of depression and anxiety. And it wasn't until I learned all I actually went out and found out by myself what the different tools there are available, and the holistic approach that you can take, that um, I recovered. It wasn't
Yeah.
until I discovered that you can use a coach to help you overcome anxiety and depression, and I worked with a coach, and then that wasn't until then that I found out how to recover. And then that's as soon as I did that, and I felt the best I'd ever felt in my entire life, because it wasn't just having a kid that um, brought these issues to the surface. I had anxiety for 20 years. I had a breakdown when I was about 21. I was very depressed. I think I was depressed as a teenager with that, but it
When
was
you
never.
had your breakdown, sorry, Naomi. When you had your
Yeah.
breakdown when you were 21, was that through postnatal depression, or was it just kind of like life?
I I didn't have my son until I was 36. So um, the the breakdown that I had was like 15 years before that. So that wasn't postnatal depression. That was a breakdown because my mum died when I was 14, and I didn't deal with it particularly well, and I was partying really hard and suppressing my emotions, and I was desperately unhappy, very, very unhappy. But I was waking up every day and pretending that I wasn't, putting on a brave face. And then that culminated in me having a breakdown. I just had a massive panic attack one night that lasted for hours and hours and hours. And then that was it. After that, I had, a good 2 or 3 years where I wasn't in a great place. And I recovered. I got better, but the anxiety never went away. So that's where my anxiety came from. That's where it started. So yeah.
Right. How many
I've,
children do you have? Just the one?
I've only got, yeah, just one little boy.
Right,
Um,
okay.
yes, his birth put me off having any more.
um,
Yeah.
gosh. And today, when you kind of like coaching other women about postnatal depression and about other problems, do you get a buzz out of it? Do you get an eye out of it because because what you've been through, you're kind of like
Yeah.
helping other people?
Yeah, you do. It's like there's no thrill like it really. When I've finished working with a client and they've started the first session, they were anxious. Like one of my clients, she was struggling to leave the house. Like going to the supermarket was terrifying for her. And then at the end of it, she was making plans to start her own business. She'd gone from being scared to leave the house to being so confident that she was going to start her own business. And when you've seen someone go on that journey, it is exhilarating. It is absolutely exhilarating. That's why I call my program's called Invincible, because that's how I felt when I went through this, when I first had coaching and recovered from years of anxiety. I felt invincible. I thought I can do anything now, and because I know how that feels when I've worked with someone else and they feel that as well, I can almost feel their feelings. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
It is
yeah, sure, yeah,
exhilarating.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
When you
wonderful.
when you were going through the postnatal depression, what was it like? What was it like with your partner? Did your partner understand?
I don't know if he understood. I don't know if he really understood the extent to how much the internal turmoil I was going through, because he's never experienced it himself, and I think it's impossible to understand somebody else's mental health problems when you haven't had mental health problems yourself. It's absolute anxiety is the most what's the word? Oh, I can't think of the word. But it's just like, it's the strangest thing ever. It really doesn't make sense. Anxiety just doesn't make sense. And irrational, that's the word. It's so
Yeah.
irrational. And for somebody that hasn't had anxiety, it's really hard for them to understand it. But it doesn't mean they can't be supportive and helpful and just say, I'm here for you, which is what you want. You just want someone to say, I'm here for you, I'm listening. But I in general, I just think it's hard for you to understand if you haven't been there. That's why I think I'm such a massive advocate for lived experience. I think someone with lived experience, and this is just my opinion, I'm not telling anyone to not go to the doctors or anything, but I think lived experience is more important than a doctorate.
Yeah, yeah. I tell
Personally.
you what, I tell you what, I'm an obesity campaigner, and I
Yeah,
do a lot with mental health too.
yeah,
And I tell you what, you got it spot on. The
yeah,
trouble is, when when I try to commit suicide,
yeah,
once
yeah.
you can see a psychiatrist, you can see a doctor, you can say, right, they only can kind of like suggest, they only can suggest what's wrong with you. They don't know what's actually wrong with you.
Mm, mm,
And people can kind of assume things and suggest things. And until you live that experience, you
yeah,
know what you're going through.
yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's that. Have you ever heard that story? I can't remember what it is now. There's a man down a hole, and a doctor comes along and says, here's some tablets, and then I can't remember the whole story, and then it says, and then the last person says, I've been where you are, I'll come down and stand with you, or something like that. I can't remember the full story, but it's so true. It's so true. You like, you can't learn this stuff out of a textbook. You can't, because you can't understand it unless you've been there.
Yeah, yeah. You got to be there. And there's one place where I don't want to be. Is end of postnatal depression. I don't not want to go there, and I'm glad I'm a man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, men can get it as well. Men can get postnatal depression as well.
Right. Well, I haven't had it, and I'm glad I
Yeah,
haven't had it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I'm not trying to be funny. But the trouble is, so we. But getting back to men again, the trouble is, men, we are so ardent by life, where we think we're so tough, and you know what I mean. And we kind of like think, oh well, a baby, yeah, fine, that's all right. And when you come as dad the first time, when you come as dad, the first thing they say is, "No way, I'm changing nappies."
Yeah.
Have you? Has your partner said that to you
No, he hasn't.
about changing nappies or something?
We very, very much split stuff 50-50. I mean, I only work part-time, so I probably do a little bit more, but we are very 50-50, and we always have been.
Yeah, I tell you, honestly, but the trouble is, what I found was in the past. I remember when I had my first one. Well, I didn't, but my partner did, and she kind of like said to me, "Oh, I'm due, I'm labour," and I was thinking, "We got to get into hospital, right?" And I was thinking, "All right, okay, okay." Have you packed the bag? Pack the bag. I said, "Yeah, get in the car. Go on, get out." And you get there, right? And all of a sudden, as dads, we just get like the bump of it. Then they start calling you names, something at their part. They start calling you names. Never again, never again. And things like that, don't they? And I don't know if you've done that to your partner. Leave me alone.
Oh,
Stop wiping my head. You know. Um,
yeah.
you know.
You're there to take abuse. I think some dads sort of, you feel like a bit of a spare part, don't you? Like, what can I do? What can I do?
Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't have a normal birth. I was induced, and a lot of the time I was just out of it. I was in
yeah,
so much pain. I didn't even know if I probably did call him names
yeah, yeah.
and shout at him, but I've got absolutely no recollection of it, because
No,
it
I
was
don't. I
just
don't.
a horrible blur of
Yeah.
intense agony.
I remember when the nurse came to me and said, "Right, you can cut the baby's cord if you want." And when they showed me the pair of scissors, I thought that was it. I, I just fainted on the floor.
Did you?
Yeah,
It is a weird thing, isn't it? Thinking about
but
it,
the
like,
baby's cord.
yeah.
Oh, I thought, oh my god, and I fainted on the floor. Yeah,
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 yeah. I ended up having a caesarean. Ended up, and after all that horrible labour, ended up having a caesarean, and they did ask my other half if he wanted to cut the cord, so he went off and did that, and he was fine with that. I mean, he got to hold him, my little boy, first. But yeah, he was all right with that. But then he's he's a scientist. He used to work in science labs, so he's a science teacher now, so he's probably dissected a frog or something, so stuff like that doesn't faze him.
you got set to the floor. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So, if anybody wants to contact you, how do they contact you?
Well, you can, I'm on Facebook. You can just search up for Naomi Buffery, or that's if you want to send me a friend request, or my page is The Anxiety Healer. I also have a group called Invincible Mums, so that's a bit more private if you want to come into a private group on
So
Facebook.
Invincible Mums.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's just a free private Facebook group for mums that have got anxiety or depression, and it's just sort of like a community where we can inspire and motivate and uplift each other, and I share videos and talk about strategies to help with how you're
Right,
feeling,
okay.
and it's
But
just,
why share all that if they're invincible?
well, you become invincible by joining the group.
Yeah, but if no one's there,
What do you mean?
you said they're invincible. That no one's there if they're invincible, aren't they?
Invincible?
No, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry.
Okay.
That would be a joke. Sorry, sorry.
It's not invisible, invincible.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm off. I'm falling asleep here. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I tell you what, Crossroads Podcast UK, and don't forget if you want to contact us on radio, please do Crossroads Podcast Radio.co.uk, and don't forget, guys, if you want to contact Naomi, please do on our Facebook site. It'll be on the website later on, and don't forget, guys, when your wife or your partner is pregnant, be nice to them because you do not want to get it when the baby is born, or weed on or pooed on because it's not nice, guys. Naomi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for having me back. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.